Welcome to Meat Pies and Shots with me, John Compton.
And me, Dan Tomlinson.
Well, you may ask, who are we and what are we going to do? Well, you've seen lots of people on the internet talking lots of rubbish about rugby league. So we thought we'd talk our own brand of rubbish about rugby league.
He's actually hit the nail on the head there because we've got different opinions as well, which is a good thing. Usually we don't agree with each other. Like, for example, Johnny still thinks LFC are a top four club. I don't.
LFC are undoubtedly a top four club. What we're going to do, first show, just have a bit of a run through each club, where they've got in Super League, how they've started, where we see them finishing, recruitment, that sort of thing. And then we'll have a bit of a chat about Championship, NRL, reserves, anything else that catches our eye. What we are looking at, we're going to make this monthly probably, so first of many. All right.
All right, let's dive straight into it then with the Betfred Super League. It's an entertaining competition, I'll give it that. I've enjoyed it already. At the time of speaking, we're only a couple of rounds in, or three if you're a little club and finishing the bottom four. And it's been good. I've enjoyed the TV game so far, even though I see still games which have been defeats. But yeah, we'll start with the Cast Tigers then, Johnny. Yeah, they've won both their games so far. They're looking good.
The first game especially, I think, well, second game as well, obviously, against us. But we'll start with their first game. I was surprised that they turned Catalans over. Lots of people have tipped Catalans for big things this year, and so it shows that Cas are in a good place. I think a lot of their good stuff has been on the back of Liam Watts. I know me and Dan were both big Liam Watts fans, and gutted that Liam Watts ever left LFC.
Still showing the odd tear now and then as well.
For those of you who haven't picked up yet, we are LFC fans. But yeah, Castleford they've looked a really good team so far. I think Peter Matautia out the back for him is doing a good job. Their halves have been steady without being spectacular. Truman's a good player. The testament is that they've not really missed Luke Gale so far, apart from perhaps the goal kicking. But then McShane's their key man, isn't he? And what I didn't realise at the time, or didn't pay as much attention to at the time as I should have done, is they've actually had one or two key injuries to the likes of Oliver Holmes, Mike McMeekin, people like that. Obviously, Luke Gale. These are big players for them, and they're still turning up. And I have to say, that second game, when they played LFC, we were lucky to probably only get beat by 8 points by them. They were a very good team on the day and busted us up the middle quite a lot, to be fair. And that man, Watts, and Grant Millington as well, unsung hero for them, does a really good job. I don't know about you, Dan, but I see Cass being in that top four at the end of the year. Certainly top five and having a real good tilt at Old Trafford.
Yeah, definitely. I actually tipped Cass to finish fourth in that famous fanzine up the cream. They play rugby league the right way, don't they? And it's been joked and people take the piss out of them a little bit. Good plug there. Nice coffee stain. With the album Globetrotters tag that came out a couple of seasons ago, and they've got like a little thing going on with Neil Diamond as well, haven't they? But they do play the right way. They play attractive, entertaining rugby league, and as a paying fan, as a customer, as what we are, that's what we want to see, don't we?
I think they can play it tough now as well, can't
they?
They've
developed that defensive side to the game, and then they conceded 4 points against Catalans. All did well to score 3 tries against them. Fortunately, Shaw was outstanding that game. It was a freak. But they've got that tough side to the, like you say, that side to the game that probably cost them winning the grand final in 2017 when Leeds turned them over.
I mean, I don't want to harp on about him too much, but Liam Watts is a very astute signing halfway through last year.
Well, it's frowned upon you see on Twitter, if you talk about Liam Watts, everyone has a go at you, but fortunately we haven't replaced Liam Watts.
Liam Watts has turned Cass into a much better team.
He's the best prop in Super League.
Yeah,
I'll throw that out there now.
He continues in this form all year, probably plays for, or should play for England at the end of the year.
Yeah, with the coat. Well, saying that, Wayne Bennett's grown on me. That's an unpopular opinion, isn't it? I actually don't
I don't mind Wayne Bennett. He's clearly very popular with his players. And
that's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, who cares what the media
Who cares what Dan and Johnny think down at pub, it's what the players think.
Dan and Johnny like him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's other people that don't really. But no, he clearly knows what he's doing. And you don't end up as an NRL coach or an international coach for that matter without knowing what you're doing.
Exactly, and speaking on that front, I don't think it'll be a long time in the future Darryl Powell before he gets that gig, because what he's done at Cass is you can't play that down. What he's done at Cass has been so bad.
He improves players, doesn't he? You look at the likes of McShane and the likes of Millington, who are always classed as good players, but probably what you'd call journeyman players, and he's taken them to that next stage. people, even Shenton was reinvigorated under him. Greg Eden, somebody else, lots of holes in his game, but he gets the best out of it. You know, likes of Oliver Holmes, Nathan Massey, these people, solid citizens, but the cumulative is better than the singular of a lot of these players.
They're not household names, are they? But they do a job and they work together really well.
Yeah. I like Cass. I think both in agreement then. Top 4 Cass,
Yeah,
probably.
definitely, yeah.
Barring injuries, obviously, but right, so...
Catalans. That's one of my pet hates.
Is it Catalans?
Catalans. They've got an S on the end. It winds up when people say
Catalans.
Catalans Dragons.
East Yorkshire boys, aren't we? That's
Well, that's where it's just laziness in vocabulary, innit? Which is rich coming from a couple of All Blacks. But they're into, again, this is another team that like to entertain. They play well at home. They had a really bad half of last season, didn't they? But then you got Josh Drinkwater, they rejuvenated. Also, they won the Challenge Cup at Wembley, something we know and we know how that feels, having been the recent memory and that. But they've recruited big, haven't they? Let's go with the word big for now. They've signed Sam Tompkins, who's obviously a big player. Matty Smith at scrum half is coming. So
you can include Kenny Edwards in it, can't you?
Yeah.
Still got the likes of Greg Baird, Remy Casti, David Mead,
Tony Gijo.
Yeah.
I like him. Character.
Gijo. What we call him. He's a good player.
Yeah, good player.
Here's a question though. Fullback standoff. Because he's playing 6 at the minute. Very good fullback for him last year.
Tompkins is probably better at fullback. It's all around fullback now. Yeah. I think Tompkins is right up there. He's developed sides to his game, which had holes in before he went to Australia.
Does it matter with him? I just think they're 2 good players that they've got in the team, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 options in it for them and 2 very good attacking players.
Complemented probably quite well with Matty Smith at 7. And then McAlorum at 9. You look at their spine, and it's a very good spine.
It's tough to beat that. Matty Smith, you either love him or you hate him, don't you? I mean, structure-wise, he gives you some shape and he gives you something to build upon, doesn't he? It's probably a Lee Radford type of scrum half.
Tough, tight games, Matty Smith's what you need, isn't he? He's going to get you about the pitch and he's going to do it. And sometimes that Catalan team have needed that steady head to get them around and do it. Is it a couple of years too late for him? Time will tell, I guess. I don't know. Again, it looks like, I mean, you look at the first two fixtures and they've lost away to Cass. And Cass obviously played quite well, and there's maybe first rounder. You often get teams caught cold, don't you? And then they've come out against Huddersfield and they've won comfortably, really. Although for spells of that, Huddersfield's forwards really give it to them and really had a good dig at them and surprised me. And physically, they were dominated for long spells of that game, but they just had enough class to come out the other side.
Yeah, that game was weird because I actually watched it in the Minerva pub on a mate of mine, Carl Brooks's little Sky on his phone. So it was a screen about 4 inches by 2 inches wide, and his little lad that he had with him, the Gadget, he was basically commentating the game for me while I was supping my pants. It was an interesting way to watch a rugby league match.
Paid a lot of attention to it.
Oh real good attention to it. But Huddersfield, I've actually tipped them to finish bottom. So if there's any Huddersfield fans actually listening to this when it goes up, that's probably our listenership dead and buried with the 3 fans that they've actually got. So
before we move on to them though, where do you see Catalans finishing? What do you reckon?
I'm going to go 6th.
That's exactly right. Because I don't agree very often, but that's exactly where I've got Catalans down to finish is 6th. I think on the day they can beat anybody, and I think they will. They'll shock some teams, and
especially at home.
Yeah, a really difficult team to beat.
It's finding that balance away from home, innit? Like when they come to, especially with all due respect to sides that you wouldn't necessarily consider a top 4 club. Won't name names, but I'm sure we can all think of who they are. They've got to start picking up some points on English soil, haven't they? And
but this is it. Block. You could back them to go and win at home against St Helens one week, and then they'll go and lose to London the week after.
Exactly.
At London,
that's the problem, isn't
it? You don't know.
But yeah,
the span could click, and it could be top 3.
Exactly. And I do like Steve McNamara. He's a really nice bloke. Obviously, Holborn, ex-Hull FC player. So a bit of local bias there.
I just wonder in their middles if 1 or 2 injuries there, because they're reliant on Casti and Moa and Bousquet. Beyond them 3, there's not a real lot there, is there?
You can say that about half the teams in the
and you could, but so they are again. They're reliant on injuries. They've got a lot of cover and a lot of depth in the spine and their outside backs. I think they're a big side. McNamara set them up, as he said, like a traditional Bradford team in the same way Lee Radford does with Hull FC. You can see what school of coaching has come through and where they're at, and
the school of winning things or winning.
I think they'll win more. They'll win more than they'll lose. I just see them finishing just outside of the playoffs. So, on the evidence of the early start of the season, but 2 games in, who knows?
Huddersfield Giants then. And before we start on Huddersfield Giants, obviously I've already tipped them to finish bottom. What is it with these little names at the end? Your Tigers, your Dragons, your Giants. Are we some like Zookeeper, Super League, it's on little zoo. Really does wind me up.
You're not a big one for.
No, I like traditional names. I don't know expansionism. I like what Toulouse have done. They call themselves the Toulouse Olympic with 13 on the back in Roman numerals. It's all they are, isn't it?
With Catalans, it works. Catalans Dragons.
What do French people care about dragons, and what in Cass fantasises about tigers?
The kids love it, this sort of stuff, and I get that. I'm going to play devil's advocate. It's traditionalist, and elements of me are really traditional as well. And as an LFC fan, you'll maybe find out if you watch a few of these. I hate them, and
they've probably got. Oh God, I'm going to cringe myself.
Don't do it.
They've got the best name. They have.
Do it.
It's the most historic name in the comp, Hull Kingston Rovers. But they all let don't they? But move on back to Huddersfield. They've lost Danny Brough, haven't they?
Matt Frawley is not patching Danny Brough for me. He's a second-rate journeyman Aussie who will
keep his dummy in though.
Well, is he really what they need? Is it a case of an Australian coach who did really well last year with the players that he's got, looking at it and thinking anybody from the NRL is better than where he is and having a different viewpoint?
That's not always necessarily the case, though, is it?
It really
We've
isn't.
seen that all the time. Look at Tyrone Roberts, last year going on with his tail between his legs.
I have to say, with Huddersfield Giants, the player I was most impressed with, I watched the Catalans game, and Isaac Farrell, now I know he's injured now, but he looked really, really good for whilst he was playing in that game. There's a young kid there.
I like the Hook Crows Leeman.
Yeah, they're bringing off the bench and got limited minutes. It surprises me. I agree with you. He's a good player. They look a bit lightweight to me, to Huddersfield, and there's something not quite right there. That's the thing. You've got a prop like Sebika Hefo. Now, and there's lots of rumours about him being shopped around and being available. He was one of the best front rows in Super League a year ago. So
Dream team.
It just doesn't seem like all's rosy in the camp at Huddersfield. I agree, I think they'll struggle. I think they'll be bottom 4. I don't think they'll be bottom. I think there'll be 2 worse teams than Huddersfield.
Interesting.
And we'll get to them later on. I think they'll finish 3rd bottom. So what have I got on 10th?
I'm going 12. I'll stick with that. Let's see then. The early birds, the mighty black and whites.
Interesting start.
For a start, forget what happened last year. Throw that in the bin, put the lid on it and burn it because it's irrelevant. You're talking dead-end Super 8 fixtures. And this is not me sound bitter. This is me adding a dose of realism to it. They played all those fixtures with no desire, no incentive because there was nothing to play for. Plus half the cap was in the stand injured.
And well,
that's a
80% of the cap if you listen to it.
You can even go up to 2/3, yeah, exactly. So it's a write-off. And yes, the losing streak has continued into 2019, but the level of performance and what we've seen on the pitch in terms of effort, energy, desire, commitment is streets. It's 2 different worlds we're talking about here, and this LFC team will not coincide with what happened at the end of last year. It will pick up. And that will happen when the players come back. And yes, I mentioned injuries again, and it's a frowned upon word in some parts of the world, but it's a genuine thing. If you've got no Albert Kelly, no Mark Sneed, you're not talking key players that were absent for virtually the whole of last year. And tell me a Super League club that can, finish in the playoffs, aspire to get to semi-finals and finals with 2 halfbacks playing limited games. It don't happen.
I'll back that up a little bit even in these first 2 games that, yes, we got beat. I'd argue in the first game we were the better team and we should have won that and should have closed that out. It was bounce of the ball. These things happen. Second game, Cass were better than us. We didn't deserve the result. But in both games, we were streets ahead of where we were at the back end of last year. And that was because it was like having new signings. Mark Sneed was like a new signing, getting us about the pitch. Joe Westerman in the Castleford game absolutely transformed our attack and the way we played. At the minute, we're shy of some middles and some front rowers taking us forward, and there's a lack of grunt there and overly reliant on Scott Taylor, who's going to be missing now for 3 games, which crazy decision.
Jamie Shaw at fullback though, wow, he's been outstanding. He's such a good rugby league player. Little baby-faced assassin for Wolf, former bricklayer, came through the ranks at Scala. Yeah. A late developer as well into the game, which shows that you're not always dead and buried after academy rugby, are you? You'd say
a form attacking player in Super League over the first 2. And for a team that lost both its games, he must have really pulled up some trees, and we've seen him. He has. He's gone to another level. I've seen in the press this week, Lee Radford turned around and said that he thinks his selection for England last year has really given him the kick in the backside and really motivated him to try and retain that place and stay involved at that level. And you can see it, and he deserves to be involved at that level.
So
really good player.
Predictions then for FC?
Well, again, everybody accuses me of being a bit over optimistic here, but I think we'll finish fourth. I really do. I think Hull FC fourth. I said Castleford fourth early, but I meant Castleford third. FC fourth.
Yeah. Changed his mind already. I'm going fifth. I think they'll just miss out on the top four. They'll get that last playoff spot. This is based on the assumption as well that Albert Kelly comes back in the side, Josh Bowden, Scott Taylor, and they stay in that team and all get better span out there, and they're big boys in the middle. And if that happens, they will finish fifth.
And dare I say it, Gareth Ellis might come back.
Oh, you open the right kind of worms there, aren't you? I think it's best we leave that subject till the next one.
Let's see if he plays before we go on to it. Yeah, I'll say fourth for me. More optimistic than the majority of the fans out there. Lots of people out there saying we're rubbish. We're going to finish bottom four. We're calling for Lee Radford's head. Load of rubbish.
If you say Radford out, then just do yourself
one word
a
for
favour.
Loyalty.
Yeah. Hull Kingston Rovers then. No best thing since sliced bread. They've signed some well beaters apparently.
Such as?
Oh, exactly. I'm taking the piss here. Beat Hull, didn't they? The final play of the game. Got a nice reality check at Warrington with all the fans calling for Blake Austin's head and then scraped past London. So
calling for Blake Austin's head and then watched the video back and saw that he didn't do anything.
Did he? Well, based on the angles we saw, we've actually got a mate called Phil Barrett who does the comms at Hull Kingston Radio, and he pretty much had him out for GBH and wants him criminalised. He must have seen something that the cameras didn't.
I didn't see anything wrong with it. It's done. Plus, it was Joe Tompkins anyway. The rectum of Wigan.
Yeah.
Got what he deserved.
It's karma, isn't it, for abusing those bar staff? No, I think Rovers, they're not going to go down, are they, unfortunately? Maybe if Toronto came up, they might have had a slimmer chance of getting relegated, but they're going to stay up. I think they'll be about 10th.
I actually, pains to say it, but I think we'll finish 7th. No, 8th. 8th is where I've got them pegged, actually. I need to be able to read my own writing a little bit here. No, where they are, they're like most teams, get your first 17 on the pitch and will be handful for anybody, and they were an handful for us in what was effectively their cup final in the first game of the season. But
never gets all that, does it?
But their squad is skinny, and they're a team who, we'll touch on this later, but I think they'll come undone by the fact that they've not run a reserves team, and they've got they've gone heavy in their front 17 in terms of salary cap. I think 1 or 2 key injuries, and they really are struggling.
So 7th and 10th, sorry, 8th and 10th.
8th and 10th.
You haven't won a trophy since 1985 either.
Since 1985.
Leeds Rhinos, Winos, another team I can't stand. There's any Leeds fans out there? Gary Everton doesn't rule the RFL. He's been put down to F now, hasn't he, since good old Robert Elston's come in. But again, they're another team that have recruited heftily, shall we say, from the NRL. Signed Lola here, Conrad Hurrell, Trent Merrin, who I actually know quite well from the Panthers. Yeah, you can see the little Panthers training top I got in Australia last year there.
Don't fit him.
Signed the England shirt there as well. Can't get into that either. Need a 2XL these days, not an XL. But like I said, they're going to come good eventually. Those 3 players. They're not going to. They've started off and they've had it tough, but it's not going to. In my opinion, they will come good eventually.
Right.
I've got them for 6th this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're lower than that.
Yeah, I've got them down as 9th.
Really?
Yeah, 9th.
Interesting.
Leeds, again, skinny squad, and transition that way. I don't really like it, but you can see it. They've got players being shopped about. You've got the likes of Cuthbertson, Parcell.
But Parcell playing against Salford, he was awesome.
Exactly. I discussed this with somebody who I know quite well on Saturday, and I said, if you talked about Leeds last year and you could pick up 2 or 3 players who you turn around and say, yeah, they need to move them on. They're not really at the level they used to be. Parcell and Cuthbertson wouldn't have been 2 of those players. They've always been 2 of their stronger performers from my point of view. Again, Brad Singleton, I'd snap him up tomorrow if he was available for Hull FC. They've had him out playing dual red at Featherstone. I get there's problems at Leeds, but for me, the players involved who they effectively appear to be on the out aren't the issue for me. It's more deep rooted than that. They're a team against a Salford, against a London, against anybody who's really struggling, they'll take them apart. They'll be a flat track bully a little bit. But the minute it gets difficult, I think they'll really struggle. They've got a lack of a kicking game.
Got some quality though. Jack Walker at full back.
Is he ready to play week in, week out? And then they've also got another fullback. In the age of Ashton Golden, in the age of a salary cap sport, they've got 2 frontline fullbacks there.
I was one they're trying to shop out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Golden.
And again, but he's a Leeds kid who wants to play for Leeds, and they've always built their ethos around Leeds kids who are going to give a bit more for them, and it's always worked. They're paying big money to the likes of Lola here. Lola here is not the answer for Leeds for me, and their fans are now starting to bag Richie Marler. Is an in and out player for me, Marler. One week he'll have a really good game, the next week he'll absolutely disappear. But again, they're another team, no real kicking game, and they're not really playing off structure. When it's unstructured and fast and it's a quick play of the ball, it'll be really good. But you don't win trophies like that nowadays, do you?
No, unfortunately not.
Big games are won when it gets nitty gritty, and when you start getting towards the playoffs and the back end, and again, once they hit 1 or 2 injuries and you're playing 1 or 2 weaker players in that side, I think they'll come undone against some teams. I really do. And like transition year, I think they'll come again. I think they'll come good, but I think they're probably 1 or 2 years away from that. So yeah, I've got Leeds down 10th.
I'm going 6th. They do need someone who can win a cup final, or someone like Mark Sneed.
London Broncos. Now, I'd say London Broncos really like London, and I'd like them even better if they didn't have Jordan Abdul playing stand-up.
Yeah, Jordan Abdul's biggest fan, right? Yeah.
For just a bit of background information, my issue with Jordan Abdul centres around the fact that he could be so much better than he is, and also, as a Hull FC contracted player, sang the Rovers song. He actually sang that Dead Dobbin song whilst he was contracted to Hull FC.
While on loan at Rovers. It's unforgivable, isn't it?
And then scored against them and refused to celebrate.
And he also loves a kebab. But yeah, London, media team are good, aren't they? These little traggies. That one with Eddie Batty doing a sandwich. I reckon I could do a good impression of that, to be honest, if someone wants to buy me a sandwich.
Well, I actually work about 200 metres down the road from their ground in London, in Ealing, and I have to say they've got lots of signs up and posters in the local area, and they're getting involved, and you see some of the stuff they're doing, and they're really trying hard to push it. They've got some good young players, good young kid from Hull, James Cunningham. I was actually disappointed that we got rid of him. I know you probably don't share that view, and you think you want at our level, but I think
that's not what I want at our level. It's just unfortunately he came through at a time where Sean Bringer just left, hadn't he?
I would have
Danny Houghton, you had Josh Hodgson there, so it was tough, wasn't it?
I'd have Cunningham in our team as a 9 now in FC's team, but
over Houghton.
I would, yeah.
Interesting.
I would.
Well, that's an unpopular opinion, but let's see, fans still think the sun shines out his arse, doesn't he? Unfortunately, he's ageing. He's still a very good player, don't get me wrong, but I think there are better hookers in the competition. And Houghton himself, he's not.
James Cunningham is
he's
one
not
of them.
blinking.
Although he's playing 7.
It's an interesting one. London are likeable, though. A little ground tick this year. Ealing, I'm looking forward to going down back end of March.
It's not really a ground.
It's like a glorified All Islands, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like Branton and Park. If you're not from Hull, Google it, you'll see what I mean. But I like Danny Ward. I like the fact that no one tipped them to get promoted, and then they did it, going to Toronto, who everyone fancied, and obviously they beat them 4-2.
Really well drilled out.
Yeah, you really. And then, like you say, they don't go missing when it gets tough. They stay there and they fight, and that those qualities will do them well in Silver Play again.
Team ethos, old school.
I generally think they will stay up, Johnny. I really do. I think they'll at home. They'll pick up some wins.
So do I.
They're going to pick up some wins at home, and how many games are you Huddersfield's going to win? Well,
I think
Salford.
Well, it's Salford. Before we move, Salford will be my tip to go down. I think eventually, and that's who I've got pegged in that 12 spot, and I've got London pegged in the 11 spot. London could do with. They've not overexerted themselves in the transfer market. They've stayed within the means. They've signed players who may be classed as journeymen. They've picked up people like Luke Yates from the NRL, who are good, solid players, never going to be a superstar. The likes of Jordan Abdul, they've took a punt on him, and it's a good gig for him, to get down there and get some good Super League experience and show how you can go in there.
I'm sure he'll enjoy it. Yeah,
there's plenty of them. The fullback Walker, he looks a very good player, and Ryan Morgan from Saints, he's got a bit of pedigree there. they've got a workman-like team, and I think like you. But again, a lot depends on injuries. If they can stay relatively injury-free, they'll shock a few teams.
I like the fact that it's London born, and that's why I think I generally think they will stay up. I'm going for 11th.
Yeah, that's why I've got them 11th. So in agreement again.
Yeah, and this is where we disagree. Salford Red Devils up next. I've just used one of them suffixes, haven't I? Salford, yeah.
Is it Salford Red Devils this year? This is the one team that confuses me about their name. They've changed Salford City Red, Salford Red Devils.
Salford in it. There's only one Salford. Yeah, not the football team that are doing well at the minute. Yeah, Salford, the rugby team.
At least the ground's a bit easier to get to nowadays.
No, yeah, the car park though. Oof, God. Nightmare. They're supposed to be building a road apparently. Actually,
they've been building it for 2 years.
It's like Cassie's new ground. Tottenham Hotspur's new ground. When's that gonna? Magic Weekend at there when it's done, don't we? But yeah, Salford. I actually think they're not going to be. The problem they've got is their first 13 is good. They've got some decent players in that first.
Jackson Hastings, Niall Evans, Joey Lussick, Rob Louis, people like that. That's
Jansen
really
Terje, I like. I was actually a bit annoyed LFC got rid of him. The problem is Lee Radford likes solid, dependable players, doesn't he? He doesn't like players that try to do flashy stuff. Or maybe not like in the forward positions. And Jansen is guilty of doing that. He'll put a kick in, he'll do an offload or a crazy pass. Sometimes it works. Put a kick in for one of now level to try as Huddersfield on the opening round. Great little kick with his left foot as well for a back rower. Also did one of the try assists for a wing player as well. He's a good player. He can do the tough stuff. He's got the flashy finesse side to his game.
Is he a top 4 Super League player at the minute?
Not right now, but he's young, isn't he? He's 22.
Exactly. And he's gone to a team now where he's going to play. I think
he could come back to one day. You never know.
That's it. In the era of the salary cap, you will get players that transition and move on. If he was at the moment, he'd be competing with Jordan Lane for a bench spot.
Well, he'd be in the reserves if he was all
yeah,
right.
exactly.
So in hindsight, maybe that statement was a bit premature. Maybe going to Salford.
It was the right thing for his career, and I think in terms of him kicking on, you're only going to find out about players by playing, aren't you? I just think with Salford, the look, and there's lots of rumours about him financially again still, and you worry they could implode. And I think that there'll be a point they will go on a run where they get beaten consistently week on week on week.
So my prediction of 9th, I'm guessing you don't agree with them.
No, I think I think their spine is good and they've got some good ball players, but I think the forward pack is weak. I think aside from Lee Mossop, and maybe Josh Jones, you could say that. I don't think they're at it. I really don't. Again though, I do like Ian Watson as a coach.
Yeah, nice.
He's stuck by him. He does the right things. He gets them playing the right way. It's a bit contradictory what I'm saying. There's just something there for me, and I sort of agree with Huddersfield. I think Huddersfield could fall into the same bracket as what I'm talking about.
They're going down there.
We'll see what we will see. I've got Salford down as being the bottom team this year. I think Kukash walking away last year.
I've not
there's more perhaps, but I think long term, I think his money kept him stable. Without his money, they'd have gone under 2 years ago.
He's a loopy, absolute fruitcake of a bloke, isn't he?
We moan about our game stagnating and not developing, and we need more characters and things like that. He was a character. As long as he stayed away from our club.
A difference between a character and, like you say, a lunatic. But
he put his money in. Anybody who puts the money in, fair play. I've not done it. You know, I won't go handing over hundreds of £1,000s to a club that I've not.
I'll tell you what, mate, 5 kids, 6 memberships, 6 shirts every year. I bet that adds up.
Yeah, it does. Why do you think I have to work in London?
There we go. St Helens then.
No, I think this is one where we probably will agree.
First.
Yeah.
Simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
They just look red hot. They look red hot all over the ball for me. Theo Farge. I'm really glad he's got into the team because Danny Richardson is the most overhyped piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. He's a dreadful player. He don't do anything, he just kicks.
He's got a great kicking game. He's got to be. He bosses teams. If he played in Hull's team, you'd love him because he's one of those players that opposition fans here, similar to Jake Connor with us, we love him. And other teams.
Times he played all I did was spent rolling around the floor complaining he was there. Like a fucking Premier League footballer.
My worry with Danny Richardson is his defence, but defensively he can be looked after. I think
he's average at best.
I think Saints are a poorer team without him. I think it's
Anthony Rams are not.
Well, I don't know. I think if you put him in there, they probably would be better.
Lomax.
Holbrook has looked at it with just stay on Richardson a minute. I think Holbrook has looked at it from a long term point of view and looked at his long term development and gone,
Yeah, he shites then into Lee.
and gone, it won't do him any harm to just have a bit of a reality check here. I see him coming back in and playing in the house with Lomax.
I see him coming back in and playing for the reserves team when they pull the finger and decide they want to do it.
We'll see, won't we? Lomax, though, is quality.
He's quality, yeah. We went to all 3 England games, didn't we, with our mates Ian Fresh and Paul Campbell. We hope to get on this at some point in this year. Both of them, that includes you too, Cam. But I really do like Lomax. Some people don't like him and don't rate him.
Seeing him in person or watching him closely over a period of 3, he grew on me massively.
Yeah, I like all that. Oh, agreed.
But Lomax was a standout for England for me. He did really well as a fullback, though. And this is something else where I could see a bit of natural transition with St Helens over the course of the year, that you might see Lachlan Coote moving to 6 and Lomax moving to 1 for various games, and there'd be a bit of
if you want to be faster on the block,
or if there's any issue. Again, you might get an issue, a situation where you have Richardson, Farge, and Lomax all in the same team, and Coote may be missing because he's back end of his career, isn't he? Any sort of injuries, they've got cover. Where they're really strong is in their middle.
Yeah,
playing off James Roby,
Alex Walmsley back,
Luke Thompson,
as cliche as that is.
Matty Lees is the next big thing, isn't he? Coming through.
Why do these Lancashire clubs? Everyone talks about Wigan rolling out, but St Helens do it as well.
Even Jack Ashworth, who's been playing dual red,
Morgan Rose.
They've got
roll them out. Regan Grace is still. I mean, some people don't like him. He's got pace and he finishes well.
Always has a good game against Hull.
He scored a couple of tries in the cup game last year, didn't he? Which was probably Hull's best performance of the year, to be honest, even though we lost. They've just got quality all over the park.
Zed Tyre, Don Pereira. For me, no brainer.
They got rid of the dead wood like Wilkin. All due respect, great career, but he's past it now, and he just retire, mate. Go to your media career.
Well, they seem to be moving the right players on, don't they? Holbrook seems to be a very astute coach.
Yeah, Wilkin, Richardson, yeah.
Aside from that, Danny Richardson's a long term view, you know. I do think undoubtedly they are the top team in Super League.
They'll finish top.
Whether they win the Super League or not is a whole different question.
Well, that's down to form at the time, and who's playing and all that.
I mean, they've won they beat Wigan 22-12 and Wakefield 24-18. Now they've not run away with either of those games, but they've done enough to win both of them. Two tricky openers.
I actually think that game against Wakefield was more impressive than made out, because Wakefield got battered by London, didn't they, in that opening game, and they had to respond, and they threw everything at Saints, and it was only a 78-minute winner by Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook.
But it shows character, doesn't it? That when it comes down to the nitty gritty at the end, they can come up with a play to pull the game out of the fire, and they kept to the structures, they believed in the processes, and they got the end result off the back of it. They won't win every week. They're not going to go unbeaten. But I just think if you're looking at it on paper and you're looking for a team who you'd say who's the number one team in Super League, for me at the moment it's probably St Helens.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll definitely finish top for me.
Here's a tricky one. Wakefield.
Well, first of all, I've had a little rant about zoo names. Wakefield ditched the Wildcats and they're now called Wakefield Trinity. They've got an owner, Michael Cartner, who actually supports Hull FC. He's actually Hull born as well. So there's lots to like about Wakefield, isn't they? Apart from the ground, obviously. The London game was probably surprising to some, to be honest. They got the manner of it. They actually going down to the capital and they got battered, didn't they?
They were impressive against us in pre-season, weren't they? And I thought they'd turn up and they'd dispatch London comfortably. Danny Brough lost his head. 2 weeks
running, yeah.
The second one against St Helens, apparently a case of mistaken identity, if you listen to him, and it was somebody else.
Do you believe that?
I don't. I just look at it. We know ourselves as all FC fans here, and Liam Watts used to get it with us. It was refs knew what, exactly that. And you've now got it with Jake Connor, and Danny Brough is Wakefield's pantomime villain, and whether it's a positive for him signing him or a negative, who knows? Time will tell. Yeah. They're a good team, and they will beat They'll turn up and they'll beat teams in games you don't expect them to win, and they'll turn up and they'll lose games you expect them to win. Yeah. No, I think they'll turn up against the London and get beat by them. They'll turn up against the Salford or a Huddersfield.
But then they'll probably go beat a Wigan, won't they?
Or they'll beat a Wigan and a Castleford or
a Leeds. Yeah, most likely. Always happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's how it is. David Fafita is massive for him. And
what about the rule changes over Wakefield? Because you say Fafita, Paulie, the big blocks.
People have said this to me about Paulie and David Fafita and our mate Ian Fresh. he says, "Oh, it'll catch up to him at the back end of the year." These guys play big minutes. They're not big guys who play 15 minutes. They're not Mossy Masoe, are they? They play 80 minutes at times, 60, 70 minutes. David Fafita has played 80 minutes as a prop, played 60 minutes. Paulie his spell was to move from a front rower onto an edge last year. It's a bit of a fallacy. Sometimes you can get a bigger bloke who doesn't look as conditioned as somebody else, but physically he can have that natural conditioning in him and be able to carry it. Or you can get somebody who looks like an absolute bodybuilder and looks like they should be able to run forever, and they can last 5 minutes.
Nicky Peer.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. I still think they're going to struggle, though. I think they've overachieved. Chris Chester's done a fantastic job, Agent Chesney. But I think this year could be one year too many. I'm actually going as low as 9th.
Oh.
Sorry, 8th. I tipped Salford 9th, then Wakefield 8th.
I've got Wakefield 8th.
Green again. That's 2 in a row.
We'll see. The next 2, I think we'll agree on probably one of them and not the other.
Oh, this will be interesting. Yeah. Warrington, they've signed Big Money again. I wonder how they get around the cap. They've got a really well-class accountant, haven't they?
No, I think what they've got is they've got an owner in Simon Moran who's prepared to really back them. And I think often when we hear about teams saying they're at full cap and they've done this and they've done that, they're not. No, I think what you have in Warrington and Simon Moran is a team who operate at full cap, and if there's a way around that they can spend more money, they do it.
Now, aren't they?
Absolutely.
There's dispensers.
And then you've got Luther Burrell, who they've now picked up, there's no salary there for him. They'll look at it. Blake Austin is marquee. Second marquee is...
Jason Clark.
Jason Clark isn't.
Is he not marquee there?
No, you've got... have they got a second marquee player?
Oh, maybe they don't. They've got players on big bucks, aren't they? Big.
Yeah,
lot of dollars,
exactly. I just think that they've been quite astute in how they're a team who are clever. Maybe they do manipulate the salary cap. Maybe the back end contracts. Maybe look at it, but maybe they're just well run. Yeah. Any team. Daryl Clark is an outstanding player.
Yeah, up there with the best in the company.
My question about Warrington isn't on a warm day when they're 20 points up and they're winning. It's on a cold, wet, windy day and it's horrible. And
it's like the football cliche. Can they do it on a cold, wet night at Stoke?
It's 10-0 after 60 minutes, and can they come out the back end against a Wigan, a St Helens, a Leeds?
Well, it's been a downfall at Old Trafford, hasn't it, in grand finals and semi-finals.
I think losing Kevin Brown will be a bigger blow for them than they imagine.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I like Stefan Ratchford as a player, and I think in order for them to perform this year, they need Stefan Ratchford to take more responsibility.
What do you think of Declan Patton? Going to play 6.
That's it. Declan, well, effectively he's a 7, isn't he? Right. He's playing 7 with Blake Austin as a 6. You're out playing split halves. But that's my question, and we don't know until he plays there. I personally don't think he's up to leading a team to a grand final victory or a Super League victory as a halfback.
Probably come next year when Gareth Widdop comes.
Okay, well, Gareth Widdop, if they had Gareth Widdop in their team now, I'd say they're going to win Super League. That's the difference with it. And your halfbacks make or break your team. Blake Austin is very good running half. Is he what Warrington need? Probably not for me. They had runners, they've got strike players, they've got people who can do that. They needed somebody with a know-how in the organisation, the kicking game to get him about. To get him about the pitch and to be calm in those. There's
not many of them about though. You think of Mark Steed at LFC. When LFC's packed plays well, you know Steed's going to have a blinder, don't you? He'll basically lead you around the park and he'll get the win for you. But there's not many of those like old school scrum halves.
Well, Gareth Widdop will do that for them.
Gareth Widdop will do that, yeah. But like you say, Wigan have got no one there. St Helens have got there's not really a dominant half at Saints. And Matty Smith at Catalans is probably an example. Really.
Having said that, Warrington have more than enough to beat the majority of teams throughout the season. I anticipate them having a very similar season to last year, finishing second.
Yeah, I've gone second. So
they may win the cup this year. I think they're probably my tip to win the cup this year at Warrington. I think when you look at when the final will be played and things like that, it'll be warm weather football and throwing the ball about. And Daryl Clark is dynamite out the back of a fast rock. So I think they'll have a better year than last year. I don't see him winning the grand final. I see him coming up short at the back end. But you don't know. Declan Patton could make him, absolutely make him. Time will tell with that.
Both second then. Last but not
Wigan.
least, Wigan, yeah. Well, third is obviously the spot that's left, so I'm going third for Wigan. John Bateman is a show's loss because he was arguably the man of steel in Super League last season. I know Ben Barber got the official one, but I think Bateman for a lot of people was the real man of steel. He's gone to Canberra now, so that's a huge loss. Joe Greenwood come in to sort of subsidise that loss a little bit. Obviously, Greenwood's a very good player, but he's not Bateman class, is he? If you are.
There isn't. And Joe Greenwood is a very good player and looks to be taking on a leadership role within this Wigan team. That being said, Bateman is a huge loss to them. He had that nastiness, that never say die.
Like you was on about it before, with like people that look that look strong but aren't strong. Bateman doesn't look like a strong player.
Doesn't look like a rugby league player.
Mongo strength, isn't he? Yeah, you look at him, you think he's some like little chubby ones on the corner of Branzo and arch your back. Well, he's got Mongo strength, man.
They don't understand that gypsy slang yet, do they? And I saw Mickey McIlaurin put a tweet on Twitter. Well, that's where we will put a tweet on. When Bateman announced he was going to Canberra, and there was a picture of him stood outside a caravan with a Rabsy Nesbitt vest on, looking like your typical Jippo, saying, "How are you going to get your caravan to Canberra?" Yeah. And it was just typical, and it's just the way it is. And he just looked like some little kid off the council estate in his little dirty vest. Stood outside of it, and that's what he looks like, but he's hard as nails, and everybody loved him in the team. He's the one player who I think you'd go into any team and they'd have said, if you could pick somebody from another club, who would you have? You'd have gone, yeah, I'd love Bateman in my team.
As for the game so far, I know they've obviously lost to Saints, beat Leeds, and lost the World Cup Challenge. Jared Sammet hasn't featured yet. Morgan Esquire was left out of the World Cup Challenge. I actually see those two as Wigan's. They're like the unorthodox type of player.
Are they good enough to lead them to anything that's going?
No, they're not going to. They can excite you, but not to the point they can do something out of nothing, can't they? Whereas you watch Thomas Lula and you watch Sam Powell, what do they offer? Nothing.
I sort of think that's not what Wigan need. Wigan need a Matty Smith. They need a kicking game. They don't have a kicking game. You've got Sam Powell, as you said, who's a target defensively. Yeah. They've got Tommy Luluai, who's a very good 9. Not 7. Or he would be a reasonable 7 if he had a 6 with a kicking game. George Williams has a good short kicking game, but he's long. It's not there. And again, their front rowers, I think they're very workmanlike and they're all right.
We're watching that World Cup Challenge game, so it's cut in there. But they didn't have any creativity whatsoever. No. Hardick offered very little from the back. As I say, Lowline offered nothing. Getting around the park was fine because they shifted the ball. They had Lachlan, they had George Williams, who was really busy on the night in a great game. That's why maybe a little bit of Esquire or a little bit of Jared Sammet just to try something different.
And you got to think, Adrian Lamb, as a coach, is only there for a year.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
It's got to have an impact. I still don't necessarily think Zach Hardacre is exactly what they need. They'd have been better served if they could have kept Tompkins this year. Tompkins would have really helped them.
We know what happened. They got the Tompkins brothers got that incident in the summer, didn't they? And
I think he was always going though, wasn't he? Sam, it was always lined up.
Well, he was a marquee player, wasn't he?
And he wanted the kudos of, or not the life experience of going to France, and you can't knock somebody for that. That he's somebody he's done it twice now. He went over to New Zealand and he played in the NRL. Didn't go quite so well for him, but he tried it. He hasn't died wondering. And then he's gone over there and he's experiencing life in the south of France. I can think of worse places to finish your career.
Right in the summer, it's 30 degrees every day.
Go and do that. For me, Wigan don't make the playoffs this year.
I was going third.
You've gone third. I've got Wigan. Where have I got them? I think I've got them as low as 9th or 9th.
So was your third place too? Oh, Hull won it.
Yeah, no, I've got Castleford in third. I've got
Hull in fourth.
Hull in fourth, yeah. And I just think that lack of creativity will happen again. They're at Wigan. They're going to be heavily reliant on youngsters.
But they roll them out, and this is the thing. They've got like a conveyor belt, haven't they? This is what happens when you have your own academy. You don't like City Academy, don't agree with it. Just throw that out there now. And the kids born in Wigan, they lived in Wigan, they want to play for Wigan, don't they?
Well, Sean Wayne was there and transitioned it, and I thought, I think losing Sean Wayne is a mistake for Wigan. I really do. In terms of that development aspect of it, he'd been at that club for so long and been involved.
When we went there and knew everybody, we parked in the car park, and as you know, Wigan, it's a nightmare out of, even when they've only got like 9,000 fans there. So as you know, went in Pizza Hut after the game, came out of Pizza Hut, walking back to the car. I had a good chat with these three Wigan fans, and they were nice people, like cliche rugby league and all that. I had a good little talk with them, and they said that basically when the Tompkins thing came out, Sean Wayne wanted to keep both of them. Ian Lenigan said no. So Wayne threatened him, saying, "Well, I'm going." So Lenigan went, "Off you pop then." It's just, you hear loads of stuff, don't you? But that's what they told me. That was just three genuine Wigan fans, and that's what they said. If that's true, then I think Lenigan's an idiot, because Sean Wayne was absolutely instrumental for Wigan. Wigan fans didn't like the way he played the game. But
he played winning rugby.
He won. That's the thing. He won so playing in 2013, 2016, 2018. How can you not appreciate that?
We have a slightly different view to me and Dan with this, because I couldn't care less how well FC play as long as they win. As long if we won 1-0 every week, I'd go to work on a Monday happy.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that.
I just want us to win. I don't care how we
I like to be entertained, don't get me wrong. I like to watch rugby. But you get that in the NRL. Watch NRL.com, you can pay £125 for the year, you can get entertained watching that. I can go to all FC, stand with my mates, have a beer, have a laugh, and they can bore the absolute hell out of me. But as long as they get 2 points, I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's it. I enjoy going to rugby when we've won. When we've lost,
it's a trip home, isn't it? On M62, when you've got to go around Swinton, Oldham, the M62's closed, it sends you on a detour around Manchester, it does you in, doesn't it? And
so
you want to win.
Let's just have a quick recap. Your league table, you've got league leaders, we've both got St Helens. Who have you got as your grand final tip? Or you grand final winners?
Come on, it's too early now. Okay, right now.
Let's have it right now.
Right now, I'm going to go St Helens.
Okay, I'm going to say Castleford. Interesting.
St Helens v Warrington with St Helens winning it. That's what I'm going for.
I've got Castleford.
They're a good team, Castle, like we said though earlier on. They are likeable in the way they play rugby. Fans on the other hand,
yeah,
they don't mind it.
So that's Super League done and dusted for now. Championship. Now, it's been an interesting week in the Championship. I think Toronto are obviously the standout team. Previous to that, I turned around and said privately, I thought Widnes had come straight back up. I didn't have, but no. You look at what's gone on, and you can only feel sorry for the fans, the players, anybody associated with Widnes. And I tell you what, James Roll has a lot to answer for with that.
Well, he's a complete utter muppet, isn't he? We know him for what he did at LFC.
Yeah.
Practically ran the club into the ground, and Sean McCray didn't help either. It took Adam Pearson at the time when Adam was actually interested in the club. I'm not a fan now, but back then I was, and obviously what Adam did, that investment paid off, didn't it?
It took him a good year and a half to unravel what Rule had done wrong.
Yeah, and McCray, because he didn't help either, like save some of the contracts, giving Joe Rundle 90 grand, 4-year contract.
His relationship with David Howes and David Howes is... Anyway, it's another one. But yeah, it's a sad one, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
From a Vulture point of view, anybody there that you reckon will get picked up? I mean, Gelling will end up somewhere in Super League, what you'd have thought.
Maybe Chris Nuno.
Yeah.
So got some
Ashel
fellas
the fullback, the young kid. There's some... You got to feel sorry for him though. But some of these kids might end up elsewhere as well. I mean,
we saw Danny Walker going to Warrington, didn't we? Yeah, they've got some good young kids with them.
Brad Walker is the young forward as well, who everybody raves around.
Yeah, nephew to former Hull FC player Russ Walker.
Yeah,
part of the 1991 Premiership.
Never know. Might end up with another Walker.
Yeah,
Toronto.
They're gonna walk it out. You can't see them bottling it again, surely.
I heard a story this week, that they have one of the top 5 rugby union players lined up for after the World Cup, and the name that's being bounced about is SBW.
Sonny Williams.
Now, if he was to make an appearance in Super League next year, it would make Toronto a very viable.
That puts TV ratings up tenfold.
Bums on seats.
Exactly, that's what they want.
Hopefully, I'm not massively for Toronto. It's not organically being built.
Oh, you can't say that, because now you get branded a flat capper and anti-expansionist and M62 moron.
I don't care.
I like expansion when it's done right. Expansion,
Catalans, I like it.
Catalans is the best example, because, like you say, half that team that won at Wembley last year were French-born, weren't they? Embedded into the Catalans environment. But Toronto, for me, are not a success story until they've got a Canadian league, Toronto players playing in that team, an academy, a strong Canada team.
My issue is the business model is not viable long term for teams to go home and away to Canada and go play them. So they're not going to be a Canadian team. They're going to end up... it'll be a bit Gateshead-like, because they'll end up taking over or merging with an established team
London
in
Scholars.
yeah, something like that. Well, there you go. It's already there, isn't it? They've already got the link up. Is that going to happen? You know, you can see it. Things like, and again, this takes me on a little bit to my next rant. Here is you've got Featherstone in the Championship. Now, I don't like what's going on there with Featherstone.
They just rely on Leeds, don't they?
And in the same way, you can see it already. Parcells being shopped around because Cam King has only come across to play for Featherstone, whilst Leeds can offload Parcell, so then they can bring King back straight into play for them. It's a ridiculous situation.
No wonder Everington don't like reserves when he can just do that. It makes the competition unbalanced. We've seen that with Lee getting players from both Wigan and St Helens already. I can't stand Joe Reg. I appreciate what Doncaster do for my club, Hull FC, but it's wrong. Send players out on loan, month loan, 2 month loan, whatever, season long loan. But Joe Reg, when they can play 1 week here, 1 week there, unbalances the competition. And while you've got a promotion place up for grabs, that's unjustifiable.
Joe Reg, you look at Lee. Lee are another example here. Jack Ashworth's been playing from Danny Richardson. You've got Costello, the centre from Saints. All of a sudden, if those players aren't available, then they get beat. You talk to Lee fans and look at what they've been saying, and Jack Ashworth has been their best player this season. He's a St Helens kid.
Exactly.
Do you know, it's not good for any of them.
So those are the ones that are doing it right. They've got a mixture, haven't they? French people, the Sand players, English
and people
have
settled in France as well.
Obviously, they've got some Islanders. Con Meek has been there for years, hasn't he?
Jonathan Ford.
Jonathan Ford's
tremendous player, Jonathan Ford. Probably one of the best players outside of Super League.
And that's it. Like I say, that's expansion done right.
Yeah, Championship will be an interesting league this year, though. There's no real poor team. It's just a shame what's happening to Widnes.
There's a couple that'll probably get swallowed up.
Swinton and Rochdale.
Maybe a Georgebridge in that category as well. Bradford back in the Championship in the second tier. They got a little bit of a reality check at Sheffield, didn't they? Again, they've won their opening 3 years. Who would have guessed that?
Sheffield, they've built a reasonable team of Sheffield, and they're established at this level, aren't they? And got some good players kicking about. It's not an easy league to win in. I like the Championship. I'm really happy. That's the one thing I'll say about Toronto. Them being in the Championship means that there's more of a TV presence.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm happier about Toronto whilst we're in the Championship.
We've seen Championship games on the box already. It's been even in the Hour League app. Sheffield and Bradford was on that. I'm admittedly guilty of not watching the full game. I watched bits of it. It was good. Halifax are a likeable club.
Reserves.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that they're on reserves and they actually get everyone sponsored and that's how they fund it. If Halifax can do it, why can't you do it Leeds? Why can't you do it Cass, St Helens, Warrington, Wigan, blah, blah, blah. Well, but like you said, they're the club that financially they're nowhere near, like your Toronto's, even your Toulouse's, but they're always there, aren't they? They never go away. I think of the Super 8's contact when they were there. Yeah. There was always in and around there. Yeah, maybe they became the whipping boys in the actual qualifiers, but they made them. And to even make them with what they're up against, for me, is an achievement. It's an achievement, definitely.
There we go. Who do we reckon? So we've got Toronto's winning.
Yeah, definitely. Toronto will walk away with it. Shout out to York City Knights, though. They're doing so much.
Club run the right way. Good coach.
I like that the media manager's a guy I follow on Twitter for years called Gavin Wilson, and he's just got everything about him's positive. I know sometimes you can sort of like brand that with happy clapping, but for me, everything York are doing right now is a testament to them, and they've got a new RAM that they'll move until next season, so everything's looking good there, isn't it?
It's an example, modern forward-thinking club. Now, I look at it, and you look at people, the likes of Anthony Gelling, the likes of Jackson Hastings, who promote themselves, and do lots of good, positive things within the communities they work in. York do that as a club, and it's something that's easily done, but lots of teams neglect it and don't do it properly. And we could learn from the Yorks of this world, and as players should be looking at what the likes of Gelling and Jackson Hastings are doing and following that.
Barrow then flying the flag for Cumbria while the other two were in League One. They had a tough result, then the York absolutely smashed them. I think it was 58-0.
Well, they're going to struggle. Barrow are going to be strong at home, aren't they? And really,
no club wants to go to Cumbria, do they?
No. Nobody wants to go to Cumbria, do they?
Somewhere I've actually never been. Hull FC played Whitehaven in a Challenge Cup game. But I was a little toddler. Dad was obviously whipped by my mum. Won't take me back then. I think I was 5 years old when he first started taking.
Has your dad ever not been whipped?
No. He won't listen to this anyway, so I can say what we want about him.
Reserves then. So we touched on it earlier. We went to first reserve game of the season, Hull FC versus Wakefield. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the concept of it. And I think it's vital for Super League to make it mandatory next year. You talk about the amount of players that are missed and don't get the opportunity because they're cast adrift at 19 as not being good enough.
And that Academy League isn't great either.
And they fall out of love with the game, don't they? You have people who they say, oh yeah, we'll go down and go play Championship. You have kids who have been brought up supporting a team. And my lad is 8 now. Now, whether he goes on to have any sort of career in rugby, who knows? As long as he enjoys rugby, that's it. But if he did, guarantee it, he's already fanatical enough that he wants to play for Hull FC, and he would want to play for Hull FC. And if say he was lucky enough to get signed on for them, he then got cast adrift at 18, 19, he probably wouldn't want to go play for anybody else. And there'll be lots of kids in a similar boat who will look at it, who have spent the last 5, 6, 7 years of their life focused on playing for one particular team, and when that doesn't work out for them, don't really know how to handle it and don't really know how to deal with it. So they get lost to the game. If you have a reserve system, you've got much longer to look at these kids and keep them involved with it and find player pathways, and anything that encourages more people to play rugby league is a good thing in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a no-brainer. I've ranted about reserves for my radio station that I work for, Kingston Radio. Find my fanzine as well at the Cream. And it's a concept which is an absolute no-brainer. I just can't, for the life of me, work out why clubs don't see the benefits of it. You know, you're talking about, like I say, a young kid who you want to keep on your books, you're not quite sure, you throw him into a competition that's, you know, I actually, when I covered the reserves for All Daily Mail before I stopped doing it, I had an interview with Lee Radford. And obviously, sports science is a huge thing in sport these days, and he GPSes up all the players, and the speed of it and the intensity of it is greater than League One. This is the reserve concept. This was games like Hull FC v Halifax, Hull FC v Wigan, you know, whatnot. And we're talking back in 2017 here, so it's only, 18 months ago. And it's when you've got like a coach telling you that, surely it's a no-brainer for others to see the beneficiaries of it. It's so much better than sending a player out to Doncaster where he doesn't know if he's going to be playing there every week or another dual reg club.
Doesn't know the processes.
Exactly, and they might have a back rower who's ready to play. Now, if let's say OFC are fully fit, Jordan Lane comes out, which to be honest actually seems as in the 17 every week these days, but maybe when everyone's back and he gets pushed out, maybe what beneficiary is it of him going to Doncaster for a game? He might as well stay in the reserves. We saw the beneficiaries of it against Wakefield. Those blokes were playing against Gareth Ellis, Mickey Peer. Yeah, he's having a tough time at the minute, is Mickey, with his form, but he's still a presence. He's still a 16-stone middle with thighs as wide as the Humber Estuary. He's still a player that you still got to run against, haven't you? You still got to, you're playing with established Super League players who have played first grade for ages. It's a no-brainer.
You talk about Wakefield and Michael Carter running his team properly. Running a club. They're a club that isn't financially the biggest in Super League, far from it. They've found a way of running
exactly.
and they bought into it, and they turned up. They had some good young kids ready to play.
A lot from the amateur game as well.
Yeah, Hull did the same thing. We had 2 or 3. Yeah. We had one from the university set up.
Yeah.
It's just an avenue to bring more players in, and I'll throw a name at you. I've said it before to you, was Jamie Peacock. That guy did not develop until he was 23 years old, and you have lots of players in a similar vein now who are being lost to the game. The reserves stop them being lost to the game. It's a no-brainer for me. The RFL needs to make it mandatory for Super League teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, the thing is, Keithley can do it. Why can't you do it in Super League? And one thing, I just to throw a name out there. Obviously, our trialist winger Ratto and Roland the Rat scored 3 tries. He's got some pace. Looks a really good player, doesn't he? But Wakefield had one called Callum Hudson. That second try he got, Wakefield's final one, the last one of the game, he like shot over the cannon. I've never ever seen speed like that on a rugby field.
Roland nearly caught him though.
Yeah, Roland did nearly caught him, but I'll tell you what, he makes Tom Johnson look slow. That kid was rapid.
Yeah.
Another thing on Roland, I found out he was 27 years old.
Yeah,
he's quite
ticking along.
But then again, a 27-year-old, he could get 4 good years out of that in Super League, can't you? He's rapid, he's Ratto, and Hull FC have been blessed with speed on the wing since Tom Lynham, so it'd be
It's what these reserves are for, isn't it? To have a look at these players. You go back to when I was a kid, and I'm 36 now, when I first got a season pass, we'd go to the A-team games and go watch it down at the Boulevard. I'd look forward to it. You'd get the team sheet. There'd be A and others everywhere, looking at the trial list and really enjoying it. But, it's gone by the wayside. It's part of the social side of rugby league as well, and bringing that back, and we've got to tap into the positive aspects of what we used to have while still driving.
Keeping players in the game, innit, in a professional environment, which is a no-brainer for me. I actually saw Josh Wood, who was a former Hull FC academy player,
Played, didn't he?
for West Hull, but he didn't get a contract after 19s. He spent about 6 months out of the game, came back into Hull FC's reserve side. Played it a couple of seasons, as I say, when I was bothered with it in 2016 and 2017. Left the game again, played for West Hull, stopped playing for West Hull. Now he's just come back for West Hull again. Who's to say Gareth Ellis might go, you know what, Jez Layton's playing big minutes for FC or playing for FC every week. We didn't look at it, let's give Josh Wood a call. It's another outlet, and who knows, like you say, you're never too young.
No.
Unless you're 37.
Well, I'm too old. They're not 37 till August.
Yeah, true. 36 when I was 37.
Right.
NRL.
Interesting one.
It's all about the Mighty Panthers. Mighty Penrith Panthers, we'll start there.
I've got my Tigers tracksuit on. Tottenham Tigers.
They've got a copyright issue. They need West Tigers, yeah.
But so I've got a soft spot for the West Tigers. My hair for nowhere. Benji Marshall. That side. We'll see what happens. Going forward,
Ritual like you.
Going forward, we're gonna cover the NRL hopefully in some of this and have a look at it. We're big NRL fans. NRL dead to me and Dan. So look out for some of that. I think Dan wants to have a bit of a mention of a naughty boy.
A naughty boy, well, yeah. Well, I'll get the good stuff out of the way first. My club is the Panthers, and a lot of people always ask me, Dan, why do you support the Panthers? Well, for a start, no one in all supports Penrith Panthers, or at least no one in all that I know supports Penrith Panthers. They're not the NRL club, especially in this day and age, everyone thinks of, Brisbane or South Sydney or a Parramatta where FC legend Peter Sterling came from, and they all flocked to them. So I thought it'd be different. I went for Penrith. Plus, I like Gus Gold, and obviously Gus is a big part of the Panthers, so it was a no-brainer for me. And Hull have actually got a lot of players from Penrith in the past. Craig Greenhill played for Penrith. Seeker Manu came from Penrith. There's been loads. I might actually do a former playlist for the next one. I might put it in Up the Cream issue, actually.
Interesting.
That would be a good piece, actually. I might do a former Panthers players that have gone to play for Hull FC. Well, that's why I spot Penrith. And that's bias club bias aside, I actually think they'll go okay this year. Started like a house on fire last season, sort of faded away a bit. There was rumours with Anthony Griffin, the coach. Apparently players didn't get on with him. Gus certainly didn't get on with him. He got left.
That's a scenario similar to what Wigan have got. Everybody knew Anthony Griffin was leaving. Everybody knew Ivan Cleary was coming in.
Yeah.
It was always going to happen.
And that'll be interesting itself to see how they go with, Dad and Lad. Obviously Nathan at 7, who was coming back from a couple of injuries, actually. He's had an operation. You think he's overrated? Yeah, he's not overrated, mate. He's a very good player. He's a very good organiser at the team. And he leads you around, he's a fruitcake. He leads you around the park really well, does Nathan. And complemented by James Maloney, they work really well together. I say they won Origin together, so they did alright, didn't they?
My tip for the NRL next year is win Bennett Souths.
Well, I'm not saying the Panthers will win the league. They're going to be in the top 4. They're going very deep in the finals, but whether they'll win the comp is another thing. I personally, I can't look past the Roosters. I know no NRL club has won it back to back in 25 years now, but Roosters could generally do that. They've got a very good team, a really good span. They've got an international span pretty much, barring Cronk.
Will they get figured out a little bit? Kerry will have a really big year for them.
Jake Friend at 9, and Cooper Cronk if he plays. Tedesco at 1, lateral Mitchell, Joseph Manu, 2 freakishly talented centres.
Joseph Manu was dominated by
Jake Connor. Yeah, he was. Yeah, but Jake Connor's the best thing ever, isn't he? There's some good teams though in that league. There's always a couple of surprises that you can throw in there.
So what about the Cowboys then? Now they've picked up Jordan Cahoon to replace.
That was an interesting story, that, wasn't it? Well, the Ben Barber thing is comical, isn't it? You get a lifeline.
He's got what he deserves, in my opinion.
Well, I completely agree. It's similar to James Seguiaro, who ain't got a club now. He walked out on Leeds a couple of years ago, didn't he? And again, an ex-Panther. But he went from Penrith to Leeds, walked out on his contract.
He's now crying about it. That he's
this
now
is on stupid fault, isn't it? I've got no sympathy there. Ben Barber, again, no sympathy. You get a lifeline at St Helens, you go home, okay, fair enough, you want to have a second crack at the NRL. Don't abuse it by
Abusing your wife.
Well, I won't want to say it, but yeah, he's obviously done something. Otherwise, North Queensland wouldn't have sacked him. And he hasn't even played a game yet. They're giving him an opportunity.
It's an interesting one. They've recruited Jordan Cahoe, but then I saw in the Indigenous game that his name is actually been calling him Jordan Cahoe for so many years, and he's Jordan Cahoe.
Yeah, that's why, mate. That's why you call him Jordan Cahoe. A good player, like you say. He's,
well, let's shorten Tumavavi to Carlos Tui then, shall we? And things like that.
Tumavavi. Is that right? Tumavavi?
Right, yeah.
I used to go Tumavavi. I don't know what I used to say. Useless with names. It took me about 50 goes to get Icky FIFA right.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed it. Two normal blokes having a bit of a rant and a ramble about rugby league.
Proving that we know nothing.
We'll come back in a month and see how little we did know and do exactly the same thing again. Talk about the teams and look at where our predictions are at and see if we can revise them, because that's the beauty of sport. You can always change your mind.
And the good thing about a month's time, it's exactly the same weekend as the NRL kickoff. So we'll review Penrith's mighty win over Parramatta and prove why the Panthers own Western Sydney.
Meat pies and shots.